A British engineer designed an aircraft that flew slower than a helicopter, cost a quarter as much to run, and looked like a giant insect. Then he sold it to police forces, pipeline patrols, and coastal watchers around the world. Then, just as the production line hit full speed, one crashed in Hampshire and killed 2 officers. 2 years after that, the factory burned to the ground in an arson attack. Sounds unbelievable, right? So today, we are going to talk about the Edgley EA-7 Optica. The Edgley EA-7 Optica is a British light aircraft designed for low-speed observation work and intended as a low-cost alternative to helicopters. Designed by John Edgley, a British engineer who had earlier worked on military helicopters at Westland, then went back to Imperial College London for his postgraduate degree, which is where he started drawing up the aircraft that would define his career. 3 seats side by side inside a hemispherical perspex bubble at the front, 270 degrees of panoramic view, a 5-bladed ducted fan mounted behind the cabin, turned by a Lycoming flat 6. Twin tail booms behind that, running back to 2 small rudders, fixed tricycle landing gear underneath. The whole aircraft looks like a giant dragonfly, which is exactly why the popular press ended up calling it the bug-eye. Only 22 were ever built, roughly 8 still survive, and a handful are still airworthy today, which is genuinely a strange fate for what might be the best low-speed observation aircraft ever designed. Bug-eye cockpit, ducted fan, twin booms. So where did this genuinely unusual aircraft actually come from? In the late 1970s, the police forces, coast guards, pipeline operators, and forest services of the world had a genuine problem. Helicopters were the obvious answer for low-altitude observation. But helicopters were expensive to buy, hideously expensive to operate, roughly £500 an hour in 1978 money, and noisy enough to ruin any covert observation task the operator was trying to do. Anyone doing surveillance from a rotorcraft knew everyone below could hear them coming. John Edgley decided to design an aircraft from the view outward. Instead of putting the pilot behind the propeller and pointing them forward, he put the entire cockpit at the front of the fuselage in a glass bubble, engine behind, propeller behind that, and inside a duct to keep the noise down. Wings above the cabin so nothing blocked the view sideways. Twin booms running back to the tail so the fan had clear air. Result: an aircraft that flew like a small plane but observed like a helicopter. Wind tunnel testing started in 1975. Prototype construction started in 1976 in London. Final assembly happened at the College of Aeronautics at Cranfield. Designed from the view outward, cockpit first, engine last. So when did this thing actually take to the sky? December the 14th, 1979. Angus McVitie flew the prototype off Cranfield for the first time. It flew exactly as designed. Slow, stable, and startlingly quiet. The Optica was thought to be the world's quietest powered aircraft, sitting at around 65 decibels at loiter altitude, which is genuinely quieter than a heavy lawnmower or a normal conversation in a busy pub. The original prototype ran a 160 horsepower Lycoming 0320, which turned out to be underpowered for the job. Edgley switched to a 200 horsepower i0360 for production, which was later upgraded again to the 260 horsepower flat 6 Lycoming i0540. Same engine family used in bigger single-engine planes like the Cessna 210 Centurion. Genuinely a lot of power for such a small, lightweight airframe. At the 1981 Paris Air Show, the Optica announced its first production order: 25 aircraft for an Australian distributor. Genuine international attention. In 1982, institutional investors came in and set up a proper production line at Old Sarum Airfield in Wiltshire, which is genuinely an old English country airfield, still active today. Old Sarum sits next to the ancient hill fort. The town of Salisbury was originally built inside. Aviation had come home to one of the oldest inhabited sites in Britain. First flight, quiet engine, 25 Australian orders, proper factory. So, who actually bought and flew this thing? The Optica received UK certification on February 8, 1985. First customer deliveries went almost immediately. By the end of that year, the Optica was in service with the Hampshire Constabulary, the Welsh Constabulary, the Victoria Police in Australia, and pipeline operators in Texas and Saudi Arabia. Roughly the geographic spread of everywhere in the world that needed cheap, slow-flying observation. Pilots reported the aircraft was startlingly easy to fly. The ducted fan had relatively benign engine failure behavior compared to conventional propellers. Slow-speed handling was forgiving. For the very specific job of loiter low, look at things, take photographs, the Optica was simply the best aircraft anyone had ever built for the job. The operational advantages were genuine. Loiter altitude typically 500 to 1,000 feet above ground. Endurance up to 8 hours in the air on a single tank. 270 degrees of visibility from the cockpit and almost straight down through the panels of the canopy, which means the pilot and observer could look at anything on the ground without banking the aircraft to get a view. Operating costs came in at roughly a third of an equivalent helicopter doing the same job, which is genuinely a huge difference in a budget-constrained police force or forest service. Noise at ground level was low enough that observation targets often did not realize the aircraft was overhead until it had already photographed them. Genuinely covert in a way no helicopter could match, and the visibility from the cockpit was actually better than most helicopters because helicopters have a rotor mast, an engine housing, and a transmission all sitting between the pilot and the sky above. Roles the Optica was designed for included aerial photography, police surveillance patrols, motorway traffic reporting, power line inspection, pipeline patrol, forest fire spotting, wildlife surveying, Coast Guard observation, and border patrol. Genuinely, the full menu of jobs that had been going to helicopters at 3 times the cost. Every police force with a budget for aerial support was suddenly a potential Optica customer. Best aircraft in the world at its job. So what went wrong? Quick favor before we get to the crash that changed everything. Enjoying this? Hit subscribe for a fresh aviation feature every week. May 15th, 1985. Just 3 months after UK certification, Hampshire Constabulary Optica GKT was airborne over Ringwood, Hampshire on a low-altitude observation sortie. On board were the police pilot and an aerial photographer, both serving members of the Hampshire Constabulary. Something went wrong. The aircraft entered a stall during a banked turn at low altitude. Recovery was impossible. It crashed. Both occupants were killed on impact. The United Kingdom Air Accidents Investigation Branch spent months examining the wreckage. Their report found no mechanical fault, no structural failure, no jamming of controls, no engine problem in the traditional sense. The cause was determined to be loss of control at low altitude, probably due to a stall in a high angle of bank turn. In plain language, pilot error under pressure, not the aircraft, not the design. But the finding did not matter, not for the survival of the company. The problem was public perception. 2 police officers had died in a bug-eye plane that the news headlines had described 3 months earlier as revolutionary. The crash spooked the investors. Orders paused. The small aircraft trade press latched onto the fact that a police Optica had killed 2 people just 3 months into its service life. Whether the crash was the aircraft's fault or not stopped being the point. Investor confidence was gone. In the mid-80s, a startup aviation company with a headline-making fatal accident had almost no chance of raising follow-on funding. The additional investment needed for the final phase of full production simply did not come through. Edgley Aircraft Limited went into receivership within months. John Edgley himself, the man who designed the aircraft and started the company, was forced out, which is genuinely a brutal outcome for what the AAIB itself had confirmed was not an aircraft failure. Perfect record with police forces destroyed by one accident. So what happened next? New investors reformed the business as Optica Industries Limited. Later, in 1985, production restarted on the strength of remaining police force pre-orders. 15 new Opticas were built by the end of 1986. Genuinely a serious effort to restart the program after the crash. And then, in the early hours of January the 16th, 1987, someone set fire to the Optica factory at Old Sarum Airfield. It was arson. Deliberate, not a workshop accident. Between 8 and 14 aircraft on the factory floor at the time were destroyed, depending on which source you trust. Production tooling was destroyed, jigs were destroyed, most of the in-progress airframes were destroyed. The Optica program was essentially finished as a manufacturing operation from that single night. To this day, the perpetrator has never been publicly identified, which for such an unusual and high-profile aviation crime is genuinely strange. Speculation over the decades has ranged from a disgruntled former employee to a rival aviation interest to insurance fraud gone wrong. None of the theories have ever been proven. What is verified is that on that January morning, the future of the Optica program was reduced to smoke over the Wiltshire countryside. Optica Industries could not recover. The business dissolved. Assets got picked up by Brooklands Aircraft Company Limited, which relaunched the design under the name Scoutmaster. 9 more aircraft were built and delivered by 1990, but sales remained thin. The design then went to Brooklands Aerospace Group, then FLS Aerospace/Lovo, based at Bournemouth, then to a series of investors, none of whom actually put the aircraft back into production. This Optica had been killed by a single crash, then buried by a single arson attack. 2 events in 20 months finished a genuinely brilliant design. 1 crash, 1 arson attack, 20 months apart. So what about the specs of the aircraft itself? The production Optica ran a Lycoming IO540 flat 6, 260 horsepower. Same engine family used in the Cessna 210 Centurion and the Piper Saratoga. Genuinely proven American piston engine technology. Driving a 5-bladed fixed-pitch ducted fan mounted downstream of a separate power pod, which is genuinely unusual configuration. The fan tips ran at a lower speed than a conventional propeller, which is exactly why the aircraft was so quiet. The airframe is compact by British aviation standards. Wingspan is just under 40 feet, about the wingspan of a standard Piper Cherokee. Length is around 24 feet. Cabin width is a genuinely spacious 5 foot 6 inches or about 170 centimeters, which lets 3 people sit shoulder to shoulder up front without touching. About the same shoulder space as a decent minivan. Empty weight sits around 1,000 pounds, genuinely light, roughly the weight of a small hatchback stripped down. Loiter speed is 70 knots, about 80 miles per hour, genuinely slow enough that a decent cyclist could hold the aircraft's cruise on a straight road, which is exactly the point. The Optica was designed to look, not to travel. Stall speed is 58 knots, about 67 miles per hour. Not particularly low by helicopter standards, but low enough that the aircraft could stay usefully airborne while barely moving above the ground. Endurance is up to 8 hours in the air on a single tank of fuel, which is genuinely a lot. About the length of a full working day, which is genuinely a lot. The Optica could stay over an incident for nearly 3 times as long, and do it at roughly 1/3 the fuel burn. Fuel economy that shames every helicopter on the market, which for police forces watching their budgets in the mid-80s was genuinely the whole sales pitch. And it worked. 260 horsepower, 80 miles per hour loiter, 8-hour endurance. So what happened to the aircraft still flying today? 8 airframes are known to survive from the original production run. 5 of those could be made airworthy. 2 are actually flying regularly right now in Sydney, Australia, registered VHBMC and VHOPI. Both moved to Bankstown Airport in New South Wales after their original base at Hoxton Park was closed, currently owned by the Waterhouse family. In the United Kingdom, 1 Optica is regularly flying, GBOPO, owned by John Edgley himself. In 2007, Edgley bought back the design rights, tooling, and 3 surviving airframes from previous owners. He formed Aero Elvira Limited with 3 former Edgley aircraft employees, Chris Burley, Finn Coulson, and Dave Lee, all of whom had been part of the original team. GBOPO returned to service on June 3, 2008. It has been the UK-type demonstrator ever since. Displayed at Sywell in August 2008, Shuttleworth Evening Airshow in June 2010, Paris Airshow 2015, and Jersey International Air Display in 2024. In the United States, One Optica is registered to a Florida operator called PRS Services of Spring Hill, Florida, certificated in standard classification, genuinely still legal to fly for observation work, which means 40 years after the crash that broke the program, examples of the Optica are still doing the exact job they were designed for. 2 flying in Australia, 1 in the UK, 1 in the US. So what killed the whole program in the end? 3 genuinely brutal factors killed the Optica. The first was the Hampshire crash. Not because it revealed a design flaw. The investigation confirmed the aircraft was mechanically sound, but because it happened 3 months into commercial service, killed 2 police officers, and destroyed investor confidence in a genuinely fragile funding pipeline. Startup aviation companies live and die on the confidence of institutional backers. Losing 2 officers in a public accident kills that confidence overnight. The second was the Arson attack, which finished off what the crash had started. No factory means no aircraft. No aircraft means no revenue. No revenue means no chance of restarting. The company that took over, Optica Industries, could not survive without the tooling that was destroyed. Every subsequent owner of the design rights, and there were 4 of them across 30 years, ran into the same problem. Restarting a certified aircraft production line from scratch is genuinely prohibitively expensive. The third was market timing. By the time each new owner tried to relaunch the Optica, unmanned aerial vehicles had started to appear. And the roles the Optica was designed for, the low-cost observation missions, were exactly the roles drones would eventually eat. By 2017, when Interflight Global tried to relaunch production, drones had already made the Optica's core value proposition largely obsolete. A police force with a budget for observation now had cheaper, quieter, safer options. The market had moved on. Crash, fire, and drones. So what is the final verdict? The Edgley Optica was genuinely one of the most technically successful failed aircraft of the 20th century. Visibility better than any helicopter. Endurance 3 times longer. Noise footprint quieter than a heavy lawnmower. Operating cost 1/3 of a rotorcraft. Genuinely useful. Genuinely loved by every pilot who flew it. And yet, the aircraft failed commercially. Twice from causes that had nothing to do with the design itself. A crash caused by pilot error, an arson attack that has never been publicly solved, a commercial environment that eventually made the entire mission obsolete. Rare failure mode in aviation. Most bad aircraft fail because they are bad aircraft. The Optica failed while being excellent at everything it was designed for. A fundamentally different failure. John Edgley himself is still trying. Still flying GBOPO at UK airshows, still holding on to the design rights, still hoping a modern relaunch, perhaps with diesel or hybrid power, could put it back in production, which for a 60-year-old design that has watched its market get eaten by drones is genuinely optimistic. But then, John Edgley designed an aircraft from the view outward and built a company from an Imperial College postgraduate thesis. Genuine optimism is what he does. So, if you enjoyed this one, go watch our deep dive on the Dyke Delta JD2, another genuinely original home-built design from a completely different corner of aviation history. Would you fly an Optica if the program relaunched? Drop it in the comments. Thanks for hanging out, and make sure you subscribe.